Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shouting into the Void. This week, we're a bit hungover, so we might be a bit slow with some responses, and Liam's also in a new flat, so his internet's so it could be all over the shop this week. Speaking of shops, this episode is about. This
Wow.
episode is episode 7 of series 2 of Doctor Who. We've been going through New Who from 2005. We're now series 2, literally the middle of series 2. We've passed the halfway point, and the episode is Idiot's Lantern. The Idiot's Lantern?
Yeah.
They're all the. So in this episode, we've lost Mickey now. He decided to stay behind, and the Doctor and
Forever.
Rose. Yep, he's never come back. The Doctor and Rose have just carried on as if nothing's happened. So they've turned up in 1950 something. I can't remember the year. The year of the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II.
53.
There you go. I wanted to say 3, but I'd rather say I don't know than look like an idiot and get the date wrong.
Fair.
And they've turned up for the coronation, but something is strange. Funnily enough, because in Doctor Who,
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
There is, but the
Even
Ghostbusters
cool.
reference isn't till later in the series.
No, 5 weeks, yeah.
So yeah, this is literally middle of the series episode. I think going into this, I don't think we had too many high expectations. So, what did you think about the episode?
I'm glad I didn't have any high expectations. It's an episode of Doctor Who.
You're not wrong.
I think that's safe to say. I hated parts of it. I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of I've never struggled so hard coming up with positives for things, just because even stuff I liked, it wasn't outstanding. That's the best that's ever been. I wasn't super passionate about anything that happened in this one, apart from some things that I hated. So it's fine. I will happily never watch it again. I was kind of entertained at times. I guess. I think I like it more than New Earth.
Interesting.
That's probably the best thing I can say about it.
And
even when we get to the scores, you'll see it's very bloody close.
I think for me, it was the worst episode of the series so far. I think series 2 at least.
Right. That's fair. This is pretty low for me as well.
Yeah. It's not like the worst thing, as with most episodes that aren't good. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen the show do, but I think it's very much a filler episode. It's not the episode I would have picked to have watched hungover, but it's what we had to do because we have no time management. So it was fine. I have quite a few issues with it. There are some things I liked, but overall it was just fine, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll come on to the points that we thought were better than fine. We normally do 3 positives and 3 negatives. So we're going to try and hit 3 positives now. So what is your first?
I put the Doctor and Rose as an investigative duo. So I thought that was easily the best. My favorite part of the episode was the bit where they're hi, and invading the Connolly's home and taking the piss out of the shitty dad.
Yeah.
It gave me big Tooth and Claw vibes with their dynamic, which I really enjoyed. It's my favorite kind of dynamic between the Doctor and Rose. And I think you could just tell they have a lot of fun just hanging out and investigating things together. The opening scene as well with the motorbike and just the banter between them, I really enjoyed. So yeah, I struggled this week, my friends. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, there were some funny moments between the two of them. Clearly the passion that they have for each other, like when the Doctor finds out that Rose is without face, which is one of few good things about Rose.
Funnily, she's normally two-faced, but this time she was no-faced.
Oh man, God, we tear into Rose so much. But yeah, I guess I enjoyed that dynamic for most of the episode. And well, Rose is completely sidelined in the last third, but what we got of them together in this episode, I thought was probably my favorite parts of the episode.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. My first positive kind of leans into that. It's Rose's agency. What I criticised her, I think, a fair bit in the past couple of episodes for just not doing anything. Like she wasn't helping solve the situation. She wasn't trying to help figure out what was going on. But in this one, she figured it out before the doctor figured it out. It just so happens that she was got by the alien. Which again, the doctor was almost got by the alien as well, but he had a sonic screwdriver. So that's the only reason why he didn't.
Hooray!
You know, if Rose had one, she might have been okay. But so it felt like she was doing something in this episode. So I think that's a credit to Mark Gatiss, who wrote it, that he actually gave her something to do rather than just be the passenger. Even though, yeah, she is sidelined for like the final third, which is a shame. But I guess you need to put
Tommy instead.
You need to put Tommy in there for that to have family to have the family come off at the end. I don't know. But yeah, so Rose's agency, I quite liked. I did think that she finally has something to do in this episode. And I don't necessarily think we're going to get it again later in the series. Maybe. Sorry, no. Fear Her. She does do her own bit in Fear Her because she's the doctor's.
Oh, that's true.
Took away in the final third, so
the best
the reverse.
throw of any object ever.
Yeah, just exactly correct.
Yeah, I know we egg on Rose a lot, and I think it's justified. But I will say, having like done this whole thing rewatching the early seasons, I have really enjoyed reminding myself how good Billie Piper is. I think one of the reasons, maybe Rose, I think people can see past Rose's many flaws as a person, is because Billie Piper is just that good.
Yeah.
And that wonderful. And I think if it had been a different actress playing Rose, I think more people would be like, this character is so awful.
Yeah, I think that if Rose was introduced as a companion now, I don't think she would have been received as well as she had been received at the start. I think that's also partly to do with just the context of the show at the time, really. I think now a lot of people, when they watch a TV show, they expect more from their characters. Like they expect them to be more fully dimensioned and fully formed. Whereas Rose is very much the template companion, I think, for the first two. And she is quite relatable to a lot of people at that age as well, because she's supposed to be 19, 20 and whatever. So it does work, and the character does work. It's just, she's just not a great person sometimes. But this is one of the times where I felt that she was growing more as a proper companion.
I liked her a lot in this one.
Yeah, because this is more like Clara is a prime example of a companion doing something to help move the plot along. And Donna is as well. So I don't think, well, even Martha to an extent, but I don't think Rose was that. But at least this episode shows that she is there for a reason. She's not just there because the doctor wants someone. She is there because she helps solve things, even if she didn't really, because nobody knew. And she didn't tell anyone. Didn't know how anyway.
Oh, she couldn't when they took her face.
No. She just yells at the screen because apparently they're all stuck in the TVs. I
love that you can see her accent in the way she says "doctor" in the screen.
Doctor.
Little bit of foreshadowing for season 4.
Oh, it's definitely not.
So
what is your second positive?
God, we're only on the second. The setting. Can you tell how
1943?
No, 53. God damn it. But yeah, I thought in terms of like other historicals, I feel like they've always been set at night and it's a bit dark and gloomy and stuff. And I feel like this was very well realized and a bit more out in the open. You can see what's going on. I really like the setting of like the ending scene when they were partying on the streets and all the flags. Alexandra Palace, kind of a big landmark with that. It felt like a real street. And I think sometimes they don't always get that across in such a good way. But it did feel like a fully formed place to me, a setting. It made sense, with like the Queen's coronation and stuff. and why the villain chose that particular time and place to end up. So it's like a justifiable, like, this is why this is happening here. And I mean, yeah, the doctor was like, oh, we got to the wrong place because we actually meant to go and see Elvis, but whoops, what can you do? But yeah, I really liked the locations, and I think it's one of the more well-realized historical settings, but also it's very different from historicals we've had because it's daylight, and that makes it a bit more interesting.
And it's strange because although it's a historical, it's like very much a recent historical. Because it's only in the 50s. Unlike, well, I suppose it's kind of similar to the World War II two-parter, because that was also only 10 years before this.
Yeah.
So but yeah, you're right, that whole two-parter is at night, so you can't see anything, whereas this one was I think it probably helps that a lot of the houses were built in that time, so that they were like, hey, we don't really have to do much set design. But yeah, I do agree that the setting is probably one of the best things of the episode. I don't necessarily agree that it would make the most sense for the wire to go there, purely because if you look at television now, you know, the Super Bowl reaches hundreds of millions of people. So but then again, maybe the wire can't time travel. I don't know. We
also
won't
budget.
know. So yeah, I guess
they need to stay in London and Cardiff.
They need to use the BBC's historical footage of Queen Elizabeth.
Who knows who watched what in 2006? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the viewing figures were like. I don't know what the highest rated the watch thing was, but 20 million does make sense. But we'll come on to. I have a couple of issues with the Wire's plan, but
a couple, is that it?
Yeah. Sticking positively.
Oh God, yeah.
I like the faceless people. I think
is my third positive.
Yeah, they just look so creepy, and it's a credit that I can't. Other than Rose, I can't tell if they're CGI or masks.
Yeah,
because Rose's is quite CGI, I think. But the others just look like they're covered over with some kind of mask and then maybe enhanced with CGI.
Yeah,
but it just looked great, and it looked so creepy because it was
they're really cool. Yeah,
it was. You could see like where their eyes should be, like the shapes of their skull under the skin. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the bit where the doctor's in the cage with them all, and they just like turn to face him.
And the hands
they do that for some reason.
I'm like, oh. Look, if you wanted to make them Autons, just make them one. But yeah, I do think that that's one of the positives is the they're not even villains, monsters. The design of
victims.
The victims look great. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I can really say about that. I don't even mind the Wire taking like the effect of her taking the face. I think that's not aged poorly.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
Even though she does take a dog's face at some point, so I guess anything will do.
Yeah. Sure.
It was watching the TV. I guess it gets got. But yeah, so I think the CGI, it could have been bad. You know, it couldn't have. It could have been, terrible. But I thought it did pretty well. And most times this series where they've used practical effects, it looks great. It's only when they use CGI that it's terrible. But
yeah,
never mind. Well, so your third was face CGI as well.
Faceless People. Yeah, Faceless People. Yeah.
So then my sort of third one was the cinematography, the framing in this episode, like the direction, because there's a lot of shots where Mr. Connolly you're looking up at him. So obviously he's been like, he's the powerful person. You look up at him, and then when you're looking at his family, they're framed downwards. And then when the doctor comes in, it's reversed. So you're looking at the doctor upwards and him downwards. And it just adds to the plot, to the story, to the sort of, it tells you how you're supposed to feel about the people without, even though it's obvious, but without telling you how you're supposed to feel about them. And I haven't really picked up on a lot of the direction of like shots and things like that in the past series, really. But this is one episode where I thought, hey, that deserves some credit, because I did think it worked quite well.
Yeah.
But again, it says a lot about the episode that's one of the things I picked up on. So, but yes. Any other positives to add?
It was only 45 minutes.
Was it? Didn't feel like it. Oh, wow. With that being said, we're gonna scoot on over to the negatives. I'm gonna get one of my nitpicks out straight away. I don't like David Tennant's hair in this. The hair, it just
I had a
looks
feeling
terrible.
you were going to mention that.
I looked at it, I was like, this isn't good. No matter what you were going for, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I nearly did put that as like a joke negative.
Well, I mean, it is a nitpick. It's not my like this has ruined it for me. The hair's ruined it.
Like what Jackie Tyler is wearing in Rose.
Yeah, that did ruin it, but yeah. And I get it would have made sense if they did end up in America. So I like the gag that they're dressed for America, and whoops, they're in 1950s Britain. But other than that one gag, it's like, okay, like they don't. A lot of Doctors have outfit variants and all that kind of stuff. Even David Tennant does, but they very rarely change hairstyles, other than maybe Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
Matt Smith sort of trimmed his back a little bit as it went on, but not a drastic change, except for when Peter Capaldi went from short buzz cut to whoa,
longest hair of all time.
Yeah, which worked for him, I think, for that change.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a good gag, but that's all it was. And was it worth it? Like, I don't. For the whole, like every scene they would have had to shoot for him that episode, they would have had to have done his hair differently to every other episode this series. So that must have been a nightmare, and it must have cost a fair bit as well. But okay, BBC, do whatever you want to do.
You do you.
So what is your first negative?
The villains are a bit rubbish. I don't know whether to include Magpie as a separate thing or
I have
in with this.
I've got the Wire.
You've done separate.
Separate, yeah.
Okay. I guess I could do that.
Well, they're both on our lists now, so
it's true.
We'll just rip into them.
Yeah. For me, that Magpie, there was just nothing to him. I felt like it was just a bit of a wet fart.
Yeah. I guess that's the point. He's not supposed to be like the smartest and
I know
most useful man.
I know, but originally he was, and they changed it.
Well, that's Gattis's fault. Gattis?
No, that's Russell's fault, I'm afraid.
Oh Christ!
But yeah, for such a pivotal role, and they just get rid of him so easily, and that's bloody stupid that she killed him because he was the one bloody defending her.
And then it ruined it. It's like, oops, I've shot myself in the foot here.
They played themselves in this one. And that's why they lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, The Wire, very quotable. I'll give him that. I've been screaming hungry
withdraw
for like years now. Withdraw. And I do think Maureen Lipman is good. I think she does what she needs to do with that character. I just think the character's bad.
Yeah.
And OTT to the extreme, very cheesy, but also hints of something quite interesting backstory wise. That it's just one line and then done. I'm like, but what did you do?
Yeah.
So that was a shame. And yeah, I just, the entire screen time I was like, please just shut this one up and go away.
Please turn her off, please.
Which I don't think I'd felt about The Wire before. They've never been one of my favorites, but I do think this is one of the weaker villains that we've seen in the entire show to this point. To be fair, the original idea for the villain in this episode was even worse. So I'm kind of glad they went with this.
Yeah.
We'll go on to that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just all this and then this man like I don't know if that gelled particularly well for me, and the interesting stuff about the characters they just didn't explore, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, when they introduce Magpie and he's like, 200 pounds overdrawn, just show that. Don't make him say that. He wouldn't just say that out loud. Just things like that. I just think the villains were a bit underwritten or overwritten to an extreme. Like there's either too much or not enough at exactly the same time. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, I do think they definitely lack depth. especially The Wire. She just comes out of nowhere, wants to do something, and then leaves.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like, you look at the Slovene, they get a proper backstory with what their plan is, where they're from, what it's like on their planet, that kind of thing. But with this, it's just yeah, she's here and she wants your face. What are you going to do about it? So I guess, first of all, I'll start with Magpie. He's a bad businessman. TV is the up and coming thing. You've got a coronation on that's going to be on the TV, and he's failing to sell his televisions. How can you not sell TVs at this point? Surely it's the easiest thing to do. And then he's giving them away for £5 at the end. I'm like, so did his debts just go away? Like what? Okay, sure, he needs to get rid of them, but here's the other thing: does he? Because the Wire, he's only there to get the wire to the antenna at the end. There's no reason for him to be putting TVs in all the rooms because he's already said 20 million people are going to be watching. He's not giving out 20 million TVs. He's probably given her 20 people, maybe.
Yeah.
We only see the one family watching it around the screen, so maybe it's only that one family. So I don't know. I get why she's picked him because he obviously knows the tech to build her the Wii U thing. But other than that, he doesn't need to sell the TVs. He's still in massive debt because he's only selling them for a £5. And I just don't get how he ends up having a business that runs until humans leave Earth. So who knows?
It's because they knew they were going to kill him, so it doesn't matter.
I know, but that's not the point. And then the Wire.
And peace you shall have. Oh, Magpie.
And the
How did
Wire.
he think that was going to end? Like,
well, that's it as well, isn't it? Like she's literally said, "I'm going to kill everyone and take their faces." But yeah, I'll let you live. See ya.
yeah.
And then the Wire. It's a case of, is she just eating this? And then if she's consumed it, how come all the faces go back at the end?
True.
Like, surely when I eat something, it doesn't come back out like it looked like. It's not the same thing. So how come? Oh. And then where did she come from? Where did she go? Where did you come from?
Where did she come from?
But she just appears in a lightning strike on the electrical shop. Did she travel through time? Was she just from a planet at that time? If she could travel through time, why did she pick the coronation when there's loads of bigger television events? Even like Live Aid would have had more viewers than that.
Yeah.
I think the Wire could be a cool concept for like now. Like you could do a cool one where the thing's invading a streaming service, and so it's usually got hundreds of millions of people. Similar to what they did with Matt Smith's second House of Series 7.
House of St. John.
House of St. John. Similar to what they did with that one. But I don't think she doesn't work very well in that setting, I don't think. If it is a she, because he just takes the form of the thing on the TV. So
yeah,
there's just issues across the board with that. I get that Magpie's not, his shop's shit, so he's basically got nothing to lose. But and that's why she's picked him, because he's probably easy to manipulate. But he doesn't need to be there except to get her to the tower at the end. And that's it, really. And it's just, you're in my head, you've taken my soul or something like that. I'm like, what are you on about? Is she mind controlling you?
Yeah,
what is this?
After like the credit sequence, his motivation just completely changes, and it's not even about the debt anymore. I'm like, why did you even put that in there then?
I know.
Just have him be somewhat successful, and then his motivations are still the same because he just wants peace and he just wants it to go away after the titles.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just don't think the villain wasn't the best. Like I said, I like the Faceless People and what happens to the victims, but I just don't get it. And it's a Doctor Who trope where, hey, I've stopped the bad guy. Now everything they did's been reversed, so everybody's fine.
Yeah.
but it is what it is. That happens in a lot of Doctor Who episodes. I don't think anyone dies in this. I don't think.
No, I guess it all
They
gets
all come
undone,
back.
doesn't it? Yeah.
And then one issue I also had is obviously when the Doctor go to confront her with Tommy and the policeman. Why is the policeman the only one to lose his face?
Yeah,
Is it because Tommy's younger, so he fights it better, and then obviously the Doctor's a Time Lord, so maybe that's, and then because he's an old man, it's easier to take his face. But they don't set that up. They don't say what, because Rose is probably only a bit older than Tommy, or supposed to be only a bit older than Tommy, yet she's gone pretty easily.
It is a bit inconsistent, yeah. Because like when she gets Rose, for like ages, she's like, Magpie, help me, help me, help me. And then when she gets those other three guys, they're all just going, ah.
Yeah. Like, and then even so, like she takes Magpie's face at the start. Does she just give it back and say, I'll give you your face back if you help me? Like, and then does that mean she can talk? Like, where are these faces being kept? Is there some kind of cloud thing where she can just go up to them and be like, hey, you want to do this? I'll give you your face back. Like, there's just so many questions around it. And I just don't think it's just so paper thin, the villain, that it just doesn't work. I don't think. But
yeah.
And that's the big issues I have with it, really. So let's say, we'll just keep going with the negatives. I've lost count where we are. So what's your next negative?
The resolution with Eddie and Connolly.
Oh, okay, that is but
makes me so mad. Now, I think we talked about this briefly at the end of the last one. I get why Rose would think the way she does, because she lost her dad. She probably thinks, oh, this is a really important thing. That man's a piece of shit.
Yep.
He's abusive to his son.
And his wife.
He outright said he has beaten his son before. He will do so again.
Yep.
Emotionally manipulative against his wife, potentially physically as well. We don't know. Turning in all the friends and family like a little snake, and then pretending he's not a snake. Everything about him is so toxic and horrible and irredeemable. But he's your dad, so you need to help him. Like, you don't think he's been trying to help him and make him a nice person his entire life, Rose. I don't know why that's suddenly going to be different now. Yes, he's been kicked out of his house, but if anything, that could make some people angrier. So I didn't like that message. I'm sure some people can change, but he showed not one iota of like, I actually wanted to change. If they'd done that, then maybe it could have worked. And then Tommy, off you go, see what you can do about it. I'm glad at least Rita was like kicked him out and that's that done. They didn't revisit that at all. So that it could have been worse, I guess, but I hate the message of like, just because they're your family, even if they're like a really toxic, horrible person, you should keep them in your life. That's bullshit.
No, and I mean, it's sort of framed in this way that, hey, you saved the world, so one man's not going to be too difficult to save. And it's like, no, maybe not if it was just a bloke. But when it's your dad that you've had to put up with for what, Tommy's like 16 maybe, when you've had to deal with that, and clearly he's not the best dad in the first place. The only time he tries to show that they're a happy family is when they're around people at the party, when the Doctor and Rose show up. Everything else we see is bad, basically. And it's not even like it's slightly ambiguous, but it's not so much you could be like, well, maybe he didn't, because he almost basically outright admitted that if my son's going to be gay, I'm going to beat him up. So it's just I'm not a fan. I completely agree, and I do get why Rose has said it, because obviously she lost her dad, and she knows that not having a dad, in her view, is worse. Like, it seems in her view that an abusive dad is better than no dad. So but
not great.
And I did notice in the scene as well, is the Doctor doesn't offer encouragement or agreement with what Rose is saying. I noticed he says, "Oh, so there's no room left for him," and Tommy goes, "No," and then Rose picks it up.
Nice.
So the Doctor, I think, would be on the side of, he's a piece of shit, let him go.
So it's especially because it's like the very last thing of the episode is them wrapping it up like, this is the true message of the episode, and then they're like, clink their glasses of orange squash, whatever it is. Oh, we did a good job here today. No,
You didn't. You've done a terrible job. Yeah, I completely
this
agree.
is terrible.
They're not. It's not a good message. Although I think, and I almost put it in my positives, Mr. Connolly, the character, it's a good character to have in this episode, because he's the most interesting, I think, in this episode. Even though it's like Roderick in the series 1 finale. He's not the nicest person, but he's the most interesting character in it. Because he's not the nicest person, obviously, but he's got the most development, I think, out of all the side characters. Which is good. It's good. Like, bad characters can have interesting stories and can be the best part of a show. But yeah, the message at the end isn't good, kids. Don't listen to it. If someone's abusive, cut them out. Don't feel like you need to stick around and change them. Just get rid of them. It's fine. And sort of sticking with resolutions, I don't really like how the Doctor resolves the Wire's resolution. It's just a bunch of scientific, I'm going to do this and you're going to go into that and it's done. Part of me's like, why don't you just unplug her? You've got hold of just throw her. Magpie's not there anymore. She's killed him. Just throw her off the antenna. You know what happens if you fall off an antenna, Doctor. You've done it before. Throw it. Yeah. Throw it off.
That was my other negative, really, was, oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, literally. And it would have been, because in School Reunion, Mickey just unplugs it. And that's great. That's a good way to sort of resolve that. And this could have been exactly the same. Just unplug her from the antenna and it's done. Maybe it's she'll electrocute me if I whatever, but he gets electrocuted like 3 times on that tower and it doesn't matter. So he's gonna get struck by lightning next series and that's gonna be fine. So
exactly.
So it doesn't matter. And just the whole contraption of like, I made this thing and it worked. I'm like, I like that he makes something out of the tech, but it just feels like it's a way of going, he can just make something. We don't need to come up with a real way out. He can just make it. It's fine. And then the other thing is, why does nobody stop Magpie from going up to the tower? He just rocks up in his van, gets out, climbs the stairs, and then climbs tower. The Doctor gets stopped and has to show his psychic paper to the man, but Magpie's not stopped. Does he work there? Has he got I don't get it. And it's just not good. Yes. And then sort of my last one is the police, the secret police or whatever they're supposed to be in this, the MI5 secret agents or whatever. Wasted. No point. Just it's not. The only thing I like is when they captured the Doctor and they were like, tell us what you found out, and he's like, did you know that if you put your hand around the elbow and your fingers can't touch, and then the bouncer behind him goes, that's like the only good bit. That's the only good bit in the whole show, is that he just goes. I was like,
oh my god, he's right.
I love that detail. But other than that, it's just they don't need to. They just seem unnecessary. They don't really add to anything. If anything, they hinder the plot until they don't need to hinder the plot. And then like he goes to try and stop the Wire, and then he gets his face gone like straight away. I'm like, what are you?
They do all that like mysterious build up, like 50 chase sequences where the Doctor still can't catch them, just for him to be like, we don't know what's going on.
No, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
So I feel they were a bit. Again, it's all of this. A lot of this is just so like paper thin. Like there's no depth beneath this surface.
I think it's right if like it's a 45-minute episode, 1 or 2 characters aren't going to be like super well developed and stuff. But there's so many. I'm just like,
I mean, the only reason the Doctor and Rose aren't underdeveloped is because it's their show. We've had a season and a half with them.
Exactly.
So they don't need to build the development. And then Mr. Connolly is arguably the only other one that has some depth. Just saying that Magpie can't run a shop isn't depth. Just saying the Wire came from space isn't depth. And it's just it just feels very, very shallow. It stinks of it just being a filler episode that they needed. And even the runtime's slightly padded. It's like a good 2 minutes of the Doctor breaking into the cage. to get to the Faceless People. He sees them, and then he's got to walk to the cage door, unlock the cage, open the door, go through it, get to another door, unlock that cage door, open that door, and then go in. And I'm like, you don't need this. Put some of that into developing your characters. Because even Tommy is clearly supposed to be framed as virtually another like Adam type character, where he could be a companion if it went that way. But he's not given much backstory other than, hey, don't be a dickhead to my nan, please. And then like the only other thing outside of that is we get is that he's a smart kid and he wants to go to college. That's it. There's nothing else in him. And even Rita as well. She gets even less.
Yeah.
You know, she's just the housewife. And a credit to this episode is it does challenge that stereotype of the time.
Yes.
And I do like the scene where Mr. Connolly just gets taken down quite a few pegs in his own home, which we then find out isn't really his own home anyway. And I do like that scene, and that is probably should have been in the positives, but it probably the best scene in the show. Felt like a film.
It's just so long.
It's just so long. That I think
that was great.
That's probably the peak of the episode. Especially the whole Union Jack, Union flag thing. Although the one thing that annoyed me about that is like the doctor like goes, "Oh, where did that come from?" I'm like, Rita and Tommy are just staring at you as you're having this conversation between yourselves. They're still in front of you, and you're just like, you're breaking character effectively for what you're supposed to be doing. But it is what it is. Have you got any other negative points you want to throw on the bonfire?
I did like how, like you mentioned, how the scene was shot, like facing up to Eddie and then down on the others. I do think there are a bit too many Dutch angles in this one.
Yeah,
I was kind of like craning my neck to watch it. I mean, that's one of my fun facts is like nearly every single shot in this episode is a Dutch angle. Yeah. I'm just like, why though?
And I think it does. You can tell it's a different style to the previous episodes, and I think they probably thought, hey, it's a filler episode that most people probably won't like or watch. Let's get creative with what we can do. It probably does go a little bit too far, but it definitely adds a nice, unique style, I think, on how it looks, at least. But there are quite a few.
Yeah.
No. Anyway.
But I think that's everything.
Brilliant.
Me,
excellent. Well, in which case, we'll have some fun towards the end here. And what are those sweet, sweet fun facts?
Oh, we've got some delicious ones this week, folks. Look at this. The first one is the guy who plays Tommy actually went on to play a young Davros in Big Finish, which is fun.
Oh,
so good for that guy. He also has a very successful YouTube channel now, talk about football and stuff. So,
that's cool. I might have to see.
Well done, sir.
I probably might have come across it at some point.
Yeah, Rory Jennings, I think is his name.
I'll have a gander.
I recognized the this isn't one on there, but I recognized the little girl who was watching TV with all the Connollys and stuff. She's the little girl from the Fairies episode of Torchwood.
Oh.
So I was like, it's the demon child. That was fun.
It's from one of the creepiest episodes of Torchwood.
Yeah. Oh, that one's horrible. So yes, that was some thing about the cast. Working titles, we had Mr. Sandman.
Oh.
So Mark Gatiss was saving that Mr. Sandman thing for years before he actually got to use it. The One-Eyed Monster. And potentially my favorite working title of all, Sonic Doom. Which is absolutely a fan fiction title. So there you go.
But like those two don't even make sense. Like there's like the Sonic Screwdriver used like twice in this episode, and then the One-Eyed Monster. What? The Wire is a woman. What? I don't. Maybe it will.
I feel like it just means like a TV. Like one screen is like a one-eyed thing, but it's
bad.
Again, paper thin.
It's bad and it's a penis. So.
Yeah, I think Idiot Stanton is probably the better title. They're saying that,
even though it doesn't make sense. So
saying that, the title was given to them by Gareth Roberts. So, bit of a shame, but it is the best title that we've seen today. So there you go.
Yep.
This was originally episode 9 of the series, but it got moved up.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why they're over Mickey a bit quicker, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
That could make sense.
Cool.
Almost every shot is a Dutch angle.
Imagine that trio of episodes to the finale. Idiots, Lantern, Fear Her, and Lover Monsters all in a row.
Oh God, yeah, it would have been that, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine? That would be
Bloody
horrible.
hell.
That would have turned everybody off. Nobody would have watched the finale. That would have been it. Oh,
what is going on here?
Christ.
Yeah, so almost every shot's a Dutch angle, which is typically used to evoke tension, which it did. This was originally written for Chris Eccleston, and Tommy was originally going to be played by Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, but I guess he was doing Skins, wasn't he, at that point? I think
Skins
came out then, 2007, so
yeah, so I think that's probably would have been maybe what caused him to not be cast ultimately. That would have been interesting. Get him in Doctor Who, folks. He's good.
Another Marvel, like Hollywood person that's appeared in Doctor Who and gone on to big things. I'm sure we won't have any other of them.
No, never. There was originally a Logopolis reference in this. So obviously, the Doctor falling off a radio tower is what killed Tom Baker. Spoilers. So that would have been fun, but ultimately didn't make it to the final draft.
Tom Baker's dead.
The Doctor also... Not yet, please. The Doctor quotes Kylie Minogue, and that's just funny because she's in it.
I put Kylie with her.
I had a bit of chuckle about that. I also had a chuckle when Rose mentioned Bank Holiday Mondays with Jackie. Because it's a bank holiday tomorrow as we record this, so that's quite funny.
And it'll be bank holiday when it comes out as well. There you go.
Happy bank holiday, folks who have a bank holiday. Now, this one I didn't actually notice about the TV aerials until I read these fun facts, but they look like swastikas. And that was a purposeful choice by the set designers to evoke the post-war era, apparently. And I think that's a strange choice, but it is a choice that they made. So I'll have to rewatch that and see. But okay, fine. Magpie Electricals continues to make appearances in the show. Martha's TV and Sound of Drums is Magpie Electricals. There's a Magpie Electricals microphone in Voyage of the Damned. The Series 5 redesigned TARDIS has a Magpie Electrical bits all around it. There's a Magpie Electrical shop in The Lie of the Land in Series 10. There's a Magpie Electrical poster in Starship UK in The Beast Below. And most interestingly of all, they've actually put some Magpie Electrical stuff in the animated reconstructions of classic episodes, which I think is quite fun.
I like that. Nice. I like the world building, but it doesn't make sense. Magpie died.
It doesn't make sense, but it's nice.
Because nobody... Yeah. Clearly his business wasn't doing well. That's the whole point. So how did it come on?
Then someone was like, oh, the owner of this TVs. Brand everybody mysteriously disappeared. I'm going to buy this. Yeah. And everyone's going to be like, oh, it's the mysteriously disappearing owner guy.
Maybe it's the Doctor. Maybe it was him. Maybe he bought it because that would explain why it's all over the TARDIS.
True. You never know.
There's a Big Finish idea in there somewhere.
Yeah. Margaret John, who played the Gran in this episode, and also, of course, Doris from Gavin and Stacey, the best character in that show. Previously appeared in 1968 in Fury from the Deep in Doctor Who. So that's 38 years in between appearances. At the time, that was the record for longest gap in appearances. Has since been broken. Sorry, Margaret John, rest in peace. Oh yeah, here we go. This was originally set in the late 50s, and the villain was going to be a living song. They changed it.
It's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
I think it's worse than The Wire, I would say.
Like, you could do a cool Pied Piper type story with that, I think. Like
with a living song. Thing. Like, the song is the enemy.
Yeah.
I think it's dumb. I'm glad they didn't do
No, I mean, yeah, you could. It sounds ridiculous, but you could do some kind of Pied Piper-esque type thing.
They decided, like, they think it just wouldn't have worked well on television. So maybe there's a book out there with it, or
almost definitely.
It'd probably work better in Big Finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would work better. This was also originally going to be set on Powell Street, which is where they'd end up building the Powell estate, where Rose and Jackie live. But they changed it ultimately because they wanted the Alexandra Palace climax, and it was a bit too far away from where they'd already established.
I can see
the estate was
all the way across London.
Yeah. So that's fine. We didn't need it. They cut a subplot where Rose visits her aunt, who worked on a game show for the BBC. And most hilariously of all in this episode where we have a TV woman screaming that she's hungry all the time. Russell Davies cut that because he thought it made the episode difficult to take seriously.
No. No,
Russell,
really?
please.
Oh.
Russell, please. Hungry. But sure. Magpie was originally a lot more malevolent and an evil person, but Rusty Davies said, "Turn it down." So they just made him bland. And then a few goofs that I found quite funny in this one. In the opening shot, the crew are reflected in the Doctor and Rose's sunglasses, which is fun.
I have to see that now. I'm going to go back and watch it.
In the final kind of bit where the Doctor's climbing the tower with the green screen, there's a bit of a mishap and his entire right foot disappears in one point. So that's also quite fun. And when the Doctor's putting the sonic screwdriver back in his pocket, David Tennant accidentally hit the button that activates the light, and they kept it in because they thought it was funny. So you can see that mistake in the episode, folks.
Amazing. Wow.
And those are your fun facts.
This episode was a shit show all round then, by the sounds of it.
They had a time. They had a hell of a time.
They really did. Right, so there's only one thing left to do, and that's to give our ratings. Out of 10, what are you giving The Idiot's Lantern?
I gave it a 6.
Interesting. I've given it 5.5.
Right, because I gave New Earth 5.5. I think I would rather probably watch this one again more, so I just gave it that bit more.
Maybe.
I was torn between 5.5 and 6, but I thought I'd be a bit generous.
To be fair, I was torn between a 5 and a 5.5, but I was like, it's not the worst. There's some good things in it, and I don't think it's the worst of this series so far. But I think I'd rather watch New Earth over this, if only for Cassandra. I think elevates that. Yeah. Whereas most of those characters also have more depth than in this one, even if some of them are pointless. And there's more. There's not. It's more ambiguous as to who the bad guy is supposed to be, and there's not really a dodgy moral ending at the end of that one. But yeah, Idiot's Lantern. If you're doing a rewatch, fine, watch it. If you just want an episode, don't bother.
Yeah,
definitely not when you're hungover. Just put something else on. Just have a nap.
No, that maybe didn't help our viewing of the episode.
Maybe, but it probably
also
it
was good.
No. Yeah. Wow. Oh, so next week is, I think, probably a better episode. I believe it's The Impossible Planet, isn't it?
It is.
It is the first of a two-parter. Another one, almost as we've just got out of one. We're coming back into another one. The Doctor and Rose end up on an impossible planet. It's orbiting a black hole and it's not falling in. And there's a research team there going, why is it not falling in? And they find out. So how do you remember the Impossible Planet?
I've always really enjoyed it in past viewings. I do think it's quite fun to watch. I love the Ood. I love that they just went there and were like, yeah, the Doctor's going to fight Satan. Why not?
Yeah.
They went there with that.
Yeah, but yeah.
I mean, the second episode's called The Satan Pit. So, yeah, I think it's one of the strongest supporting character casts that I can remember. I remember liking a lot of them.
Especially Toby, right? He's the best one.
Toby, don't turn around.
Yeah, and that
I'm sure
scene scared the shit out of me as a child. Just this voice coming at you, telling you not to. I was like, that would fuck me up. I was like, I can't do it. Sorry. Oh,
yeah. But yeah, I think I generally can't remember I don't know if I like part 1 or part 2 more. I think it's normally seems to be fairly even when I look back on it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff for the core 2, the duo, and the supporting cast as well. I like the villains. I like the Ood. I mean, the cliffhanger was literally just a whole opening, which is
but hey,
the best cliffhanger in the world.
The whole opened and everything
shook. I'm looking forward to checking it out again.
Oh, it's just, I think it was fine.
Yes, and the TARDIS got down there from this previously sealed hole. But we'll get to that in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I think there are some issues with it, but I don't think it's. Well, it might be my favorite two-parter of the series. We'll find out, I guess. Because I don't think there's too much.
And it was the last thing Billie Piper filmed as a regular character on Doctor Who.
How emotional she must have been.
Sure.
But yeah, that brings this week to an end, really. Thankfully. Oh yes. So as mentioned at the start, there could be some technical issues this episode purely for logistical reasons. Liam's, if you followed him on Twitter, you know his Wi-Fi has been notoriously shite since he's moved house. So hopefully it will stabilize, but we have
Sky.
we have alternatives we can do, because now, thanks to lockdowns easing, we could do this face to face. But who knows? But hopefully you've enjoyed it either way. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Do you think Tommy should have gone back with his dad? If you say yes, I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong.
Everything's subjective, but you're wrong.
Yeah, everything is, but you are wrong. But yes, let us know what you thought, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.